What's up, everybody? Or should I say, like 3 people that watch this? Um, so I haven't made like a video about like what I've been thinking about or like my life recently, and I kind of just wanted to like share my life on YouTube, which is a ballsy thing to do. It's a bold thing to do, but I wanted to do it, and yeah, I think some of the things that I've been going through are gonna help people, so I want to share it. And I'm sure there's like a lot of people out there that are actually going through similar things, or maybe not a lot, but there's at least a couple. So my life has changed a lot recently, and it's continuing to change, it's continuing to evolve. I'm continuing to grow and experience new things and become even more independent. And I've been on a journey that has seemed to just be kind of like my own journey, and it's had its ups and downs. It's had its negative emotions and some positive ones. There's been some calm, there's been some anxiety, there's been some sadness, but I've stayed kind of just aware of the fact that it's constantly going to change and that it's not going to stay the same the whole time. I've also kind of done some things that are going to keep me more grounded, and I wanted to share just kind of my experience thus far in my life. So I don't live. I grew up. Let's put it this way. I grew up near the coast. Okay, in an environment that was surrounded by water. My hobbies have like basically completely evolved around it, and that's kind of like basically what I've been doing my entire life is just putting myself in the ocean. It's been the best experience of my life have really come from being in the ocean, riding waves, being in the ocean, being in that freedom of space, and just having like that entire thing is like your playground, and just how the elements are constantly changing, and how there's sunny days and stormy days, and it's just like a complete representation of what life really is. It's not constantly the same. And I just always took from the ocean that like things are always going to change. It's like a direct representation of it, because you have your good days of surfing, you have your bad days of surfing, and you have your good days of waves, you have your bad days of waves, and it's like those good days stick out so much, and those bad days are still good. So any day in the ocean is pretty awesome. But I grew up in the same place by the coast for like 23 years, and I moved inland when I was 23. So that was a year ago. I've been here for a year. I haven't stayed here very much, mainly because I've just been going back to my hometown because I don't want to live inland. I don't want to be away from the beach. Everything that I've ever done has really grown up, and I've been basically consumed by the ocean. So I knew that this was like a temporary thing that I was doing. I knew I did not want to be here very long. Um, and it has been a very different experience. People live differently here. The culture's differently, a lot different. But I wanted to talk more about some things that are pretty related to my life right now more than they have been, and kind of the differences in like who I am versus maybe somebody else, and some things that I wrote down that I wanted to share. So I'll just kind of read it, but I'll be looking down over here. But so I just wrote this. So I do consider myself to have become more cynical as I've gotten older, and it can be a good thing and a bad thing. So I think this kind of outlines like some of the positive of it, but also like just life in general. I've written down some pretty cool things, so I wanted to read it. But um, yeah, like I've had a lot of time to reflect. I live alone now, and I've just been in like the quarantine thing, so I've just been like going on runs and like working and stuff. I stay optimistic and positive, of course, because I know it's going to change, and I know that my situation here living inland is going to change because it's not what I want to do. So I know I'm going to gravitate away from it. It's just a temporary thing, and I've already been here for a year, so I only have like a little bit longer to stay here, and then I'll be leaving. But yeah, like I've learned a lot on my journey here, and it's just been like a little bit life changing. My perspective has changed, but it's also made me realize the importance of being like on your own. I lived in my hometown for 23 years where my family was. My mom was 5 minutes down the road, 10 minutes down the road. My dad was 15 minutes down the road, 10 minutes down the road for 23 years of my life. So I didn't constantly use them, but they were always there and they were always close by. And I think I never really asserted my independence fully, and I still haven't. Some things about my situation is that I was unemployed for a couple months and I couldn't really get a job myself, so my mom had to help me get a job. Not a very ideal because that gives her it kind of needed to happen to build my resume for just a little bit to be more secure in my future, but um, you still see the influence. You don't see the complete detachment from the mother that you need to see in a 24-year-old male. So I kind of did something that I didn't want to do, and I think a lot of us do that. We don't end up doing what we want to do. We end up living how we think we should. So we don't live how we want to live. We live how we think we should live. And I think that a lot of people do this, and I kind of wrote about it, so I wanted to talk about it real quick. So today I want to talk on YouTube about this. I have been thinking about it. I want it to be a topic on reality. So I'm going to go more into what is reality, you know? Can we ever get a full grasp on like what reality is? Um, you know, like can we really get down to the concrete reality, or are we always going to be stuck in a delusion? Are we always going to be a little bit delusional on in all of our perceptions? Are we going to be able to really make concrete decisions based on reality? Um, and really, what is reality? Like it's a question of reality and how to like discover maybe some new truths in your life that you haven't really been able to discover because maybe you are not completely shedding your skin, so to speak. So, seeing this sharp, like, okay, so I want this to be a topic on reality, seeing this sharply and for what it is, rather than what we want it to be. The economy largely operates on deception that we should consume in order to rightfully feel justified, useful, and obedient. It's an illusion created for the freedom of those that have control over the demand, which I think was a pretty important point. The okay, so the illusion to consume was created by the freedom of those that have control of the demand of our society. It provides a platform for people to live on. It gives them purpose and meaning for their work. It is a system. Are the true values of consumption what drive us to meaning, contentment, honor, righteousness? If you are a consumer, are you not living in a delusion of reality? To dissolve our filters down to something concrete requires cynicism. We have to be cynical if we want to be able to delude some of the deceptions that we are all living in, basically. That alone allows you to pick apart the deception created and piece together a reality that makes more sense. To dissolve our okay, I'm going to reread that. To dissolve our filters down to something concrete requires cynicism. Cynicism alone allows you to pick apart the deception created and piece together a reality that makes more sense. You may never get it down to a concrete reality, but the progress in that direction builds a better life because it will focus on the fundamentals of human nature and not on ideas. It gives us a better understanding of ourselves and our own flaws. It may drive us away from consumerism and into a life that is far more interesting. It would drive adventure for experience and reduce the motivation to work for pleasure. I think that's probably one of the most important things about being cynical, because I do consider myself a pretty cynical person, which is obviously a good thing and a bad thing. But cynic, I think I have a lot of good things about me and a lot of bad things, but cynicism has allowed me, it's driven me to adventure for experience. It's adventure for experience, you know? Like it's a drive not to work anymore. You know, I'm not working. It's not a drive to work. It's a drive to adventure for experiences. And that's what the nature of like getting down to like a concrete reality does, because a lot of what I've already said is true. And I think cynicism would drive adventure for experience, and it would reduce the motivation to work for pleasure. So if you're more cynical, it's a good thing, because you're going to be driven more to find adventure for experiences in your life. And it really does reduce the motivation to work for pleasure. People that aren't cynical, I think they're kind of stuck in the system, because they're not able to really dissect the whole thing. They're not able to really look at like the flaws of what the system is doing and what it is. They're not really able to look at things for what they are. You have to be able to look at things for what they are, and not what you've been told they are or what you want them to be. The only way to be able to do that is to be cynical, really. And yeah, that's a good thing that comes from it. I said it is a scary path to take to be cynical. It is a scary path to choose, because there's no roadmap. You're figuring things out as you go. You're figuring things out on your own, you know, and it may prove to be far more exciting, meaningful and a happy one, but it's obviously riskier. So that's kind of like how cynicism relates to like your paths in life, because overall I think it drives you down a different it drives you down a different road, man. Like it really does, you know. So I wanted to share that with you guys for today. I hope that was a little helpful. It may have been a little disorganized at the beginning. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think to fulfill our true potential, we need to be able to dissect some deceptions. We need to be able to dissect reality. We really need to be able to like look at things in a different way, and like dissect what's going on in our lives and how our lives work, and how the system, like how this all works. We have to be able to dissect it. And if you can't do that, you're not going to really be able to understand what's going on in your life, who you really are, and how you're going to go from this point to that point. You need to have the cynicism, because a lot of how we live is just based on pure deception of how we were been told to live. And I think if you can get down to really what you want to do, and you do it, it gives you a certain amount of like excitement, experience, and just fulfillment in your life that you're not going to be able to get by just not even following others, but without the cynicism, you wouldn't been able to get there. So that is my point for today, and I think it's an important approach to life to take. So I hope you guys kind of understand what I'm trying to say. I hope you guys have a good day and stay safe.